Mayor Suarez, let's get an update on how things are going. You know, we're calling this panel Miami Crypto City.
Well, I think just the fact that we're having this panel means that it is, right? The fact that you guys have decided we're not talking about any other city in America as crypto city. We're talking about Miami as a crypto city. And this is the future of our world. And if we want to be a tech city in Miami, we have to take advantage of these opportunities.
Welcome back to Why Are We Like This, the only true crime podcast that treats Florida like the active crime scene that it is. I'm David Quinones, and I am joined, as always, by Tomas Kennedy. Tomas, what's up, man?
Good. I'm in Ecuador right now.
so
you been deported?
No, I self-deported. I just needed to get away from the grifters and the toxic personalities that we're going to be talking about in this episode.
And you didn't go to El Salvador, I noticed.
Yeah, I'm going there next.
Okay, thank you, disembodied voice. Hang on one second.
Sorry. I'm stepping all over your intro, dude.
No, it's fine. We like it. It mixes things up. We know what we get when we invite our guest on.
This?
And of course, we cannot forget our other co-host, Gerald Doherty. Jer, how are you?
I'm doing okay. It's extremely cold. Wishing I was going to say I wish I was in Miami, but Ecuador does sound even better than that, honestly. So maybe one day.
So in a recent episode, you might remember that we alluded to having a longer conversation about Miami, its place as the emerging tech hub that it is, right? And Bitcoin, shitcoin, Miami coin, all of these wonderful blockchain adjacent topics are things that we want to get in today with our guest. We're going to have a conversation about crypto, about Web 3.0, Bitcoin, blockchain, the promises of Silicon Beach. Our guest is someone who needs no introduction. He's Miami's most prolific filmmaker, raconteur, and gadfly. You can catch him every Friday on the Dan Le Batard Show feed, co-hosting the #BecauseMiami podcast. He's taking a bit of a break today from shit talking every city commissioner that we have to talk to us about about the magnificent.
Yeah, I was going to say, David, that's not fair. I don't just shit talk city commissioners. I also shit talk county commissioners. That's
equal opportunity. Yeah. Absolutely. So we're going to talk a little bit today about this magnificent tech hub that Mayor Francis Suarez has created and the part that cryptocurrency and Web3 have played in that transformation that should be happening any day now. Just hold your breath. Billy Corben, welcome to Why Are We Like This?
Thanks, David.
Thanks for showing up and for being here for us and talking to us. One of probably our most well-known guests, especially when you consider the fact that Billy has been tearing it up over there on Hulu. We want to acknowledge, kind of start off by talking a little bit about your latest project, God forbid, the sex scandal that brought down a dynasty, which has been earning quite a bit of plaudits over there. It's streaming now on Hulu. If somehow you haven't if you haven't watched it yet, go ahead and fire up the Hulu machine and put it in your queue. Billy, I was wondering, when did that story of Jerry Falwell, Becky Tilly, Giancarlo Granda, their friend, when did that land on your radar? And before we get into our subject today, I just wanted to kind of like pick your brain a little on how this became the subject of your most recent documentary.
Well, it is a uniquely Miami story, but it is playing all over the world on Hulu, Disney Plus, wherever, whatever platform you have in whatever territory or country you're in. I don't know what it is, Tomas, down where you are right now in Ecuador, but I'm sure you can find it. And it is now, as of last week, they announced it was the most watched documentary in the history of Hulu. Which is awesome.
Hell yeah!
And if you haven't seen it, please check it out. I look forward to your thoughts. You can still find me on the dying civilization of Twitter and let me know what you think of it. #God forbid on Hulu. But it was on our radar pretty early because, as I mentioned, it is a uniquely Miami story. One of those great kind of like only in Miami stories where just people kind of like meet here in America's Casablanca and then just fuckery festers. From here. And one of those great like Miami butterfly effect stories where a butterfly flaps its wings in Miami Beach poolside at the Fontainebleau and it changes the course of world history. And this is one of those stories that we found out about because of this unusual real estate transaction that was being reported on Alton Road in South Beach. This piece of commercial property cost about $4.65 million. It had an Italian restaurant, a very popular restaurant, Macchialina. It's still there. It had a liquor store at the time, and it had what Politico referred to as a gay-friendly flop house, a youth hostel upstairs. And turns out that this building was bought and co-owned by the family of Jerry Falwell Jr. and Giancarlo Granda, this former pool attendant who met Jerry Falwell Jr. and his wife Becky when he was working as a pool boy at the Fontainebleau in the spring of 2012. And Jerry Falwell Jr. is the president. Becky is the first lady, at the time they were, of Liberty University, the largest Christian university in the world. And so what on earth were they doing owning this piece of property with a former pool boy? That became the big question circa about 2017, 2018. And we tracked the story ever since then until June of 2020, when we received an email. The subject was Giancarlo Granda - pool boy - Donald Trump and Jerry Falwell Jr. - story. And he had me at Giancarlo Granda because I knew exactly who that was. And he was reaching out to us to see if we wanted to help him tell his story. He wanted to finally come forward after years of rumors about this relationship and what the true nature of the relationship was. Obviously, a lot of rumors in the blogosphere and Twitterverse filled in the blanks on this story. And he finally came forward. And the story that he tells is that he was propositioned by Becky Falwell at the pool when he was 20 years old. She was in her mid-40s, I think, at that point, and had several kind of adult children who were about, one of whom was, one of the sons was Giancarlo's age, and she asked him if he wanted to go upstairs with her to her room after his shift. And he said, yeah. But she said, one thing, though, my husband likes to watch. Yes. And that was the beginning of a 7-year cuckold threesome, multi-million-dollar real estate partnership that may very well have impacted the last 2 U.S. presidential elections.
An incredible story, a lot of fun. One of those documentaries that when you think it's kind of reached its apex, it ratchets things up another gear and goes into some more further places than you would think. So we're pushing for our boy Billy for an Academy Award this year. I know Laura Poitras thinks she's got it locked it up. Fuck Laura Poitras. I'm saying it's all Billy Corben, man. 2023.
I don't know that we're eligible. Maybe we could win a Webby Award. I don't know what we're eligible for, but on Hulu, but I don't think we're eligible for an Academy Award.
If a cuckold is someone who likes to watch, be a cuckold, watch Billy's movie. That's what I said.
Yeah, and do what Jerry did. Watch from the corner of the room. Watch the documentary from the corner.
Yes.
Billy, I actually have a question about the documentary. And I don't mean to put you in a spot of you judging your subject as a documentarian, but and we talked about this privately too. But watching the documentary, I was very I was very curious as to whether you saw Giancarlo as like the hero of the story, or like a hustler or a grifter, or like this sort of like tragic figure. And the reason why I ask is because, and spoilers alert, if you don't want to know about the documentary until you watch it, skip like a minute or two. But there's a part in the documentary when Giancarlo's like fed up, right? He's like, fuck this, the Falwells have completely used me. They've treated me like shit. They haven't lived up to their promises, and I'm tired of it. And he when he talks about it in the documentary, he sort of makes it seem, and claims, whether truth or not, that it's because of the political ramifications of Jerry Falwell's empire and influence in the media political sphere. And he talks about the George Floyd protests, and BLM and Trump, and how he couldn't stand for the attacks on democracy. But then you put his texts to Jerry Falwell, and his texts are basically bro, he literally says bro, give me my fucking money and we all go our separate ways, and that's it. So I don't know, in the interactions between him and Jerry Falwell, he never actually articulates hey, you're, and I don't mean to sound righteous, but he never articulates you're doing a harm on the world and this is why I'm upset. It's more you fucked me personally over. And that's not just to judge him, but to me, it was an interesting artistic choice of yours. And I wonder if, if he's again, like a hero or just like your typical Miami hustler.
So I think when you're making a movie, people want characters to be simple, right? They want them to be tropes and to fall into certain categories, hero, villain, whatever. I think this is a documentary, and so I think Giancarlo is extremely complicated as a person, which is why I tried to put as much of the information into it as possible so that we weren't putting our thumb on the scale. It was up to you to decide. And people disagree. Some people think he's a victim. Some people think he's a hero. Some people think he's a hustler. Some people think he's a piece of shit. And I'm fine with all of that. I mean,
and he could be all of them, right?
Yeah, but I think we all are.
We all can be. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think that we all exist, especially in Miami.
Yeah.
We're all guilty by geography, right? So we all exist in a gray area, right? Like there's the white market economy, there's a black market economy, but most of us live in the gray area, whether it's economically, whether it's personality wise or character wise. And I think he's a guy who got way in over his head, mind you, in this situation, and effectively started to drown. No pool pun intended. But I think that, incidentally, there were things that didn't make the cut. When Jerry Falwell Jr. made his statements at convocation at Liberty, in front of 10,000 students, compulsory attendance. It's just very manipulative. One might even call it an indoctrination. These events that the students have to attend that are very politicized. It became the favorite stop for everyone from the Trump universe to come and be able to have this captive audience of young minds to mold. And he made this remark after the San Bernardino shootings. They have a very, very active, shall we say, concealed weapons course at the university that Jerry Falwell Jr. highly encouraged students to be armed. He claimed that he was armed on stage at the event and started talking about how everybody should have guns so we can, quote, kill these Muslims before they kill us, end quote. And I have text messages between Giancarlo and Jerry where Giancarlo, who was working with the manager at the hostel that they owned and ran in South Beach at the time, was Muslim. And Giancarlo pushed back, and he texted him and said, "This is not appropriate, and this is this is violent rhetoric. It's hateful, and on a personal level, it's making me uncomfortable at our business that we co-own, together." So I've seen him. Or I've seen evidence, I should say, of him pushing back on Jerry. That's not to say that it kind of proves he's a hero or villain or whatever, but it just goes to show that there is more material out there. I mean, we put this guy through the ringer as far as like vetting him went. I mean, no one was taking his word for it. I mean, he had to provide receipts and corroboration for everything that wound up in the cut. And some of the things we cut out was not because he couldn't provide corroboration, but because we just didn't have time. And it wasn't because I didn't believe him. It's just because certain things if we're going to make claims, we need to be able to show that there is some evidence of this. And he had much more evidence than what even wound up in the doc, be it copious amounts of text messages, emails, photographs, videos, one of which particularly explicit. We excerpt some of the least explicit parts of at the end of the doc, which is kind of his, sort of, as far as the evidence is concerned, his kind of mic drop moment. But I think he's a real complicated guy. And I tried to put a bunch of different things in there, and some of the things I think were kind of mixed up in his mind. I described the documentary as like Get Out meets The Righteous Gemstones, because this guy was honey trapped into this world of power and privilege and religion, and he said it was intoxicating. He admitted that, being in their inner circle, rubbing shoulders with literally the most powerful people in the world, shaking hands with the future president of the United States, and then being business partners and being a real estate millionaire 11 months after meeting these people at his pool boy job when he's 21 years old. And now, Jerry Falwell becomes the kingmaker, the first evangelical leader to endorse Donald Trump in a primary with Ted Cruz, who was thought to be the evangelical candidate in that race. And it completely swung, it changed Donald Trump's fate at that point. So this kid just didn't know what. I mean, he's from Westchester, Miami.
Yeah.
You know, we went to St. Brendan's. He was putting himself, raised, you know, Catholic conservative, a Cuban father, Mexican mother, very religious, and he was putting himself through FIU, going to working at the Fontainebleau. And so this guy just didn't. I mean, this is not anything that he had thought would ever happen to him in his life, and it was a very dysfunctional relationship, I should say. So he was fucked up, you know, like it fucked him up.
There's a special characteristic in Miami kids, and Billy, you know, sort of embody this as well. There's like a certain kind of chispa.
We live with our parents.
Well, yeah, that too. You live with your parents well into your late 30s. Yeah, there's that too. But no, there's like I would say it's like a chispa. It's like a type of and the reason I bring it up is because this is a kid who had that Miami-ness about him to say, you know what, let me talk to a documentarian. Let me be a guy who's on Hulu. And I wonder how many times the Falwells and Liberty University got away with things when it was a kid from Cleveland or a kid from, you know, Des Moines or something like that who doesn't have that. Yeah. Or who doesn't have that, like that Miami gene where fuck it, bro. I'll talk to Billy Corben. I don't give a shit. Like, you know, these people piss me off.
He's like more of a gringo than I am. This guy, like he's. It's funny. He's this like Cuban Mexican kid from Westchester, but like he's like so like he passes, man. Like like his accent, like it's totally. I don't know, like it's kind of wild.
He's
that
never
was
gonna
my joke with him.
He's never gonna have any problems with the job interview. He's gonna have problems with the Googling his name afterwards when they look for his job.
Highly problematic. Yeah, this is a guy who, when you Googled his name before this scandal, you got 3 hits. You got his Twitter, his Insta, and his LinkedIn. You know, and then after about 2018, it was pool boy this, pool boy that, and none of the facts at the time, just pure like rumor and conjecture and theories and a lot of blogs.
I remember Danny McBride saying that like they couldn't make that a Gemstones plot because nobody would buy it, nobody would believe it. It's too crazy. Like
it's ludicrous, and like it's like it's also like a porn thing, you know. It's like the pool boy cuckold, it's absurd, you know. And I had an idea for a while until we sort of like early on. I thought, hey, we should do reenactments with porn stars. But no sex, just the porn actors like doing the dialogue, like doing like stilted line readings of like bad dialogue and everything. And I thought that'd be funny. And so we went with something similarly campy, but obviously the story takes a turn. And I that's what I like about it, is that like my favorite movies are the ones that if I showed you the first 5 minutes and the last 5 minutes, you would say there's no way this is the same movie. What the hell
happened in between?
Yeah, like Psycho. Like there's no way that you can predict what happens in the hour and 40 minutes in between there. It's the same thing here. If I showed you the first 5 minutes of this and the last 5 minutes of God Forbid, you'd be like, this is not clearly from 2 different documentaries. So it's a wild ride. It almost like has 2 halves, you know. And so we couldn't get too funny with it because I think it gets kind of serious, you know.
Yeah. So I want to awkwardly transition us into our main subject, but again,
no, we're talking about cuckolds. Joe Carollo is a perfectly natural segue there. Joe Carollo. Is that how you say it?
So this is actually the perfect time, I think, for us to be having this conversation, because we're just hitting the end of Art Basel week, and many of the rubes out there, probably lacking sophistication, think that Art Basel is about art, but it's not. Much like New York Fashion Week has nothing really to do with fashion.
No art, all Basel. And I presume that Basel is a French word for cocaine.
Yes.
And money laundering.
Yeah, they have the public mountain of cocaine that, you know, somewhere in Wynwood that you can, you know, it's floating around. It's like a secret party. It's like going to a MF Doom show in 2004. You have to like know the right people.
You flash them your Bored Ape and they give you access to the coke, man.
Jerry, that's exactly it. That is what I was trying to say. And that is that Art Basel, like so many other things that are sort of centered around Miami, it's about whatever the hot thing in the moment is or was 6 months ago. And because Miami, we're always like tragically trailing behind. Like we are always 6 months living in the past, which is why I was not surprised to see so much. And Billy, I'm wondering if you were surprised to see so much sort of deference and attention still played to this wheezing, dying industry, this floating collection of scams that is Web3. Crypto, but you walk through Art Basel in the day of our Lord, December 3rd, 2022, and you would think that it's 2021. You would think that it's the last Super Bowl commercial.
Just real quick, the worst part is that not only are they peddling crypto, but like they are peddling NFTs hard, which is like one
hard.
That can't still be a thing.
I thought we had a consensus on this shit. I thought that we all agreed. Damn, that was stupid.
Well, that's the thing. If they're still pushing crypto, NFTs are just a vehicle for crypto.
Yeah.
So if you're pushing one, you have to sell the other.
I've been to numerous galleries where they have just like NFT quote unquote art projection on the walls, and I'm just like, are people fucking insane? Like, like.
So I think it was last year at Art Basel, I wound up inadvertently sitting with these two guys. We had like a mutual friend at the same table in South Beach. Really nice guys, young guys, clearly very smart guys. And they were introduced to me as being in the NFT racket business, whatever they said. And
industry.
And I was like, I'm trying to understand this. I'm a content creator. And at the time, obviously, you know, the storyline was all of these content creators getting into this space, whether they were somehow memorializing imagery from past works or creating new work customized for this technology. I wanted to understand it. And so here are two people in this industry here in Miami. This is last year. In Art Basel, effectively peddling this technology. And I'm like, okay, so, you know, talk to me like I'm 5. Like, explain this to me. And here I am. You're in this business. I'm a content creator. Like, presumably we can make money together doing this. So tell me, give me the pitch. I didn't understand it. Like, it was like one of those things where, like, I turn into a 5-year-old where you're like, but why? But why? Yeah. But what about this? But what about that? And, like, nothing quite makes sense. So it's a total.
So we were robbed from a Billy Corben FTX Super Bowl commercial because this guy did a bad pitch.
No, I certainly would have been the Larry David on that. I don't think so. I don't think.
Hey, you know what though? You know what though? That money spends the same. That money spends the same.
Yeah, but but I also have to look at myself in the mirror. Yeah. You know, like I have a conscience, and I don't, and I don't feel like, you know, like I'm in some sort of fucking MLM pitch, you know, infomercial kind of. I mean, like, get at it. I mean, I might as well be selling Miracle Spring Water at that point. You know, I'm selling you're selling magical beans is what you're selling, and it seemed quite obvious to me. And I wanted to be. This is a classic case of like me wanting to be wrong. I want to be wrong every single day I wake up. I want to be proven wrong, right? I mean, all the time. So it's one of those things that I went to people smarter than me and said, explain this to me, right? You're doing this. You're making money doing this. Tell me how I can make money doing this in a way that makes sense, where I see the value, where I can, in good conscience, peddle this to a third party or to an end user or to our audience, you know, and in a way that makes me feel like not a snake oil salesman. And it turns out they couldn't explain it to me in a way that made me feel clean and logical about what this scheme was. And so obviously imaginary coins were not a thing that I was going to invest in. But this is where they say this is why for Mayor Ponzi Postalita, Francis Suarez, is such a classic con man. Anybody who knows what con is short for, it's short for confidence. Okay, yeah. You have to gain and in order to do that, you have to. What do I say? Miami is where truth is hate and lies are love. We don't have reality; we have realty. Right. Yep. So everybody has to. So you have to keep selling the bubble. Everybody has to be in on the scheme to sell the dream, or else the bubble bursts. So when you hear people like Francis Suarez or any of these crypto cowboys going like, "Oh, you're just a hater, bro. Yeah. You need to like you're just a hater." It's like, you mean I'm a truth teller? Because the second you tell the truth about a Ponzi scheme, everybody loses their money.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, if you tell people that, there's no such thing as fairies, Tinkerbell's gonna die. So you're killing Tinkerbell
That's
in
right.
that way.
You have to believe, and that's what the second these guys say it's not real, this whole thing is a lie, then it all goes away. Then they don't get a greater fool tomorrow
Right.
to come in and that's the whole you have, and we don't get new luxury real estate buyers to show up tomorrow if we don't keep saying Miami has the best government, it has the best infrastructure, it has the best schools, it has the best. Where? For who? It's like it has the best quality of life, the best parks, the best infrastructure. Like, what are you saying? Like, people can't move here. I mean, all of the tech bros that got Me Too'd out of Silicon Valley came to Miami at the start of the pandemic and then started talking about Miami as a mythological place that none of us who have spent our lives here recognized anymore. We're like, what are you talking about?
Billy, I want to read you a couple things from it. In researching this article, I found some interesting stuff when I was researching this episode that we're doing right now. Stuff that that all of us sort of ambiently knew, but might have zipped past us in the chaos that the last 2 years has been. And one of the things that I came across was this article on a publication called shiftmoving.com, which I guess is kind of Silicon Valley adjacent and focused on selling a lot of the same snake oil that we're talking about here. Headline of the article is Miami is the next great tech hub. It's funny. We laugh at these articles from back in 2020, right? Oh shit. Wait, that's March 31st, 2022 that was written. That was like 6 or 7 months ago. And I just wanted to highlight the many advantages that Silicon Valley folks, such as the proprietors of Shift Moving, are enjoying by making the leap to Miami, such as moving with family can give a discount on property tax, depending on the municipality, as well as if you move early enough. I'm having a hard time. I mean, are they talking about homestead? I have no idea. What the fuck are you talking about? This has become the most expensive property market in the fucking country and the most resistant to the property market to the slowly descending prices around the country, while places like Austin and whatever, Bay Area, all of them are sort of starting to see a little bit more reasonable decline. No, man, Miami's still going to the moon. How the fuck are you saving money by moving to Miami?
It has to.
State income tax
content. It's pay to play content.
Yeah, but wait, you say that, Tomas, but hang on a second, because you haven't heard the second bullet point.
Gosh.
Happy workers.
It's Miami. There's never one bullet. There's always a lot of bullets.
So exactly 6 in the chamber right here. Happy workers make for better work environments. And the reverse is true too. This is the case with Miami, which has been voted many times as being an extremely friendly working environment. So much so.
By who?
So
by
much
Kanye
so.
West? By who?
So much so that people have expressed how welcome they have felt, as well as how helpful the locals have been to them.
What?
And I don't know if any of you guys have any significant others who are in a Facebook group called MiamiMoms.com or Miami Moms on Facebook, but I think I've talked about this in the show before, where half of the posts there are women with their profile pictures or their banner pictures back in their California homes, but have just moved to Miami in recent months, and asking, and a lot of the posts are in the tenor of, does anyone know where I can get a good Cuban coffee without speaking Spanish? And it seems like pretty much the gist of the folks that are coming. And I imagine they're pretty happy, and I'm sure they're going to find lots of happy workers waiting to do all their bidding here in Miami.
Happy workers. Dude, I want to take a step back to the date on the article, because I think we have to just acknowledge what a bizarre long year this has been as we mercifully approach the end of it. And how much you're talking about 3 months ago, Francis Suarez was on a podcast with SBF
with scam banking and fraud.
Talking about what a hero he is, the quotes about FTX, how the company on the eve of their opening their Miami headquarters, how the company perfectly represents the ethos of Miami in this moment.
For us, in terms of being competitive, and Sam's environment, he's in an ultra competitive environment. You're always looking for what is that edge. I think in the case of FTX for Sam, it's indisputable that his big investment has produced tremendous return on investment in terms of the great media that he's gotten for already. Like he said, on day one he could pay for it, and on day one he got probably an incredible return on his investment. So he's clearly a good investor.
By the way, turned out to be inadvertently true, but truer than Francis knew at the time. But like,
not how they
you don't
hoped.
even have to go. You don't have to go back to spring of this year, David. You could go back to like fall of this year, late summer of this year, to find like stuff that like at the time was absurd, and anybody who was like paying a modicum of attention knew that. But now it's just like. It's as Tomas would say, cringe, pure cringe.
And Billy, I want to interject here because like you're kind of burying the lead. I share on Twitter a part that actually you, David, clipped, which is I think the best part of that podcast, which is when the interviewer asked Scam, Bank, and Fraud, they're like, "How did you get a 19-year like contract for the Heat Arena when you've only been a company for 1 year?" And, you know, SBF just kind of goes through this like nonsensical word salad of an answer where he just says, like, well, you know, he basically says like, we've done so well this 1 year that we don't have to worry about the next 18 years.
And Sam, I mean, crypto moves so quickly, but one part of this deal is that at least the Miami Herald reported that it's a 19-year deal. I know you might not be sharing the duration, but, you know, people look at that. And FTX is a company that didn't exist 4 years ago. I mean, how can a 19-year deal be safe for such a new company? I remember a few years back in college sports, there was something called the Bitcoin Bowl, and it had a crypto sponsor. It was supposed to be a 3-year sponsorship, and then the sponsor had to pull out after 1 year. How can you guarantee the county, you know, we're good for 19 years?
Yeah, I totally hear you on that. And it's a good question. And I mean, you know, without going into the details, it's been a pretty good year for us, and you know, to the point where frankly we don't need to rely on the other 18 years, you know, to have the funds for this. So we've got it's been a phenomenal year for a number of businesses, and for you know, the crypto industry in particular, and then I think us even more so. And so that's given us a pretty big cushion.
Wow, that didn't turn out to be that way. But then the best part of that is that Francis Suarez, we should clip this audio and video, David, into this episode. Francis Suarez, throughout the whole minute that Scam, Bank, and Fraud is speaking, he's just like looking at his phone, like a teenage girl, just like looking at his phone, probably on Tinder. Like I think he's moving like his hand left, like, swiping, and just like Tinder.
Grindr.
Yeah, and then at the end, when Scam, Bank, and Fraud finishes the answer, he just looks up.
Legal disclaimer: we do not know if he was on Grindr or not. Legal disclaimer.
No. But he looks up, gives this stupidest grin, and a double thumbs up when SBF finishes talking, and then he just like nods, great. And they just keep going. Also, what?
Can we talk for a moment that we don't have leadership here? We just have
shepherds into the next con.
Not even these are not leaders. They are followers. These are people who are on the payroll of these various oligarchs, and in many cases, not just oligarchs, but con men and con women. Ponzi schemer is going to Ponzi scheme. Not that I have a problem. I can't say I don't have a problem with that, but what I'm saying is that's going to happen. We know that's going to happen. Yeah. But why is the government complicit in this? Why are our elected officials a party to these cons? That's just like, that's, you know, and I'm not, nor am I suggesting he has to call them out, but to not only be a cheerleader for them, I'm going to go one step further. I'm going to say that these people are his clients. I'm going to say that when he goes to work as the mayor, which is only one of his 3 paying gigs, by the way,
and he never goes.
He's not going to work for his constituents. He's going to work for his clients. And I mean clients. I mean people who pay him, on whose payroll he is on, whether it's through his law firm, which has a very prominent, crypto, blockchain, Web3 practice, whether it's through more obvious means like contributions to his campaign or political committees, whether it's this other hedge fund or real estate fund that he's a party to, whether it's hiring his father at a Chicago-based boutique crypto law firm, because when I want to know about Web3, I hire an 80-year-old man. Doesn't make
X-Man.
any. So what I'm saying is this is so dirty and so rotten when you have the mayor of one of the poorest cities in the country who is working as the secret unregistered lobbyist for the richest people in the world. And in fact, we know this from the Miami Herald, that he was in fact working as the secret unregistered lobbyist for the richest zip code in the entire United States, Fisher Island, while he was allegedly serving as the mayor. I say allegedly because he's not serving as the mayor. He's not. He's working for these rich people, and his constituents are his victims. They are his victims. And he is a predator preying on the people of Miami.
He's an unregistered lobbyist for unregulated securities.
It sounds fully on the up and up.
Cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, this is like a criminal inception. It's a crime within a crime, folding in within a crime. I mean, it's and of course it can only happen in Miami. People are coming here because you have a mayor who put a for sale sign out in front of City Hall. They're not coming here to be a part of a better community or a better government or better infrastructure or better quality of life. They are here because this is a government that they can buy, that this is a place where fuckery can flourish. This is a place where we are uniquely permissive.
Well, let me say really quick,
all of this.
Really quick, I want to tell you guys something that I came across in researching this episode, because I was going back through my time as a journalist at the Miami Herald. I remembered the City of Miami website actually being a pretty decent source of archived information. Like if you needed to know what the administration was saying at a given point in time in history, you could go there and you could find it. And it was just it's not like some great trait. I mean, it's just the most basic thing you can expect from a government is some transparency. But I found as I was researching that not only did they move from that sort of they used to have a model where they just dumped all of their press releases and you could search them pretty easily. They moved into this content management system, the City of Miami. You'll see all of the press releases stop at 2018, and then they spring you into this sort of dynamic content management thing. You'll be surprised to learn that while it is searchable, terms like Web3, Miami Coin, Bitcoin, blockchain, and Tech Hub, things that I'm pretty sure the city has talked about a lot in the last couple of years, weirdly, you can't find any of the press releases about that. And maybe it's just a technical problem or something. But I think having lived in Miami for your whole life, and for all of us for quite significant periods of time, it doesn't sound like it's a technical problem. You're talking about a guy who is reputation laundering right now, who somehow has an aspiration, not just for higher office, but has fucking Forbes and ridiculous business magazines asking, could he be the mayor that becomes president one day? Which that's exactly what Billy just did, is the exact response that deserves.
Yeah. Let me tell a story that kind of colors the effects that this has on real people, aside from like the abstract. So in September of 2021, last year, I went to buy a new car. I went to CarMax. And I was like, I don't want this shit like getting delivered to me. I'm like a boomer that way. I want to go and just pick up my fucking car. So I went and I met with the car sales guy, who's very nice, very friendly guy, helped me out a ton, got me my car, ready to drive out the lot. So I started, befriending this guy because, he's a cool guy. And he just starts talking to me about cryptocurrencies at one point. And he starts like, it's the greater fool scam, right? It's an MLM. So even though he's a nice guy, he's trying to get me into it, right? He's trying to get me to buy in. So he's like, you got to download this app, bro. I forgot which. It was like one of these like Coinbase like apps. He's like, this app is great, bro. It has access to all these coins that there's normally not in all the other apps. It even gives you like metrics and information on which coins are performing better or not. And he starts telling me like I've invested all of my life savings into this, bro. And I was with the bros and everything. And I'm like, How much money did you put in this? He's like $75,000. And I'm like, you might want to diversify your investments a little bit. Maybe like 10, 20 if you're feeling bullish. But I'm not a financial advisor, but I would diversify it a little bit. But he tells me, no, man, at this point next year, I'm going to be a millionaire. And then I asked him, I was like, well, I want to ask you, because obviously, I want to get political. So I'm like, what do you think about Francis Suarez? And he's like, I think that guy is a fucking visionary. I think that guy is like doing wonders for this city. So that it's what you said, Billy, like what you're talking about, the constituents being victims and he being a predator. It's true. Like he's a predator and he's giving legitimacy to all of these other con artists in the eyes of the unsuspecting public who expect their mayor to behave responsibly, right? I mean, he's the mayor of Miami. He's got to this position and they don't know that he's just a rich kid that, is wearing his dad's, oversized suit. But yeah, that is the consequences. Working class people just investing all of their life savings. And that guy probably lost it all because he was like, I asked him, he was like invested in all of these coins that probably went to shit.
Yep. Here's the thing about this. Someone asked me the other day, do you think that this is just, it's a boom and bust cycle? Obviously, the entire economy is in a major downturn. There's a lot of stocks and a lot of companies that have lost, well into double digits of their value this past year. Isn't it possible that this is obviously it's disproportionately impacting crypto? But there's going to be a rebound. And I'll say, okay, let's start with the fact that I believe that Bitcoin and Ethereum will rise again. There will be there are enough people who have bought into that and enough, I think, sort of institutional and legacy financial institutions, I should say, that have bought in that will see that come back like as a part of any other security or like any other part of element of the market. Here's the problem. It means the whole pitch was a fucking lie because it wasn't supposed to be tethered. It was supposed to be immune from these market conditions. Right. It was supposed to not be impacted by inflation. It was supposed to not be not supposed to ride the market up and down. And even the coins that were allegedly tethered to the dollar weren't they were just worth
stable coins.
That was bullshit. So what I'm saying is that okay, if you're like, okay, this is going to come back, sure, this is going to rebound, but everything we told you about this to date, about this unregulated security to date, has been a lie. The whole pitch about its security and its safety for people, incidentally, who cannot afford to be illiquid. They need access to their money to pay for shit that they need.
The retail investors.
Every single day. Food, shelter, clothing. Not people who live paycheck to paycheck, but people who live tip jar to tip jar. Okay? People who work for a living who cannot afford to have their money tied up in magical beans that are going to fluctuate with the market. That's why so few people, that's why the middle class and the poor aren't even in the market. Because they can't afford to have they can't afford to let it ride on the Dow, for the next 20 years, because the Dow always wins, just like the Miami real estate market, if you can afford to ride those waves, but people can't afford to ride those waves. Okay. And now, as Warren Buffett said in the Great Recession, he said, when the tide goes out, or only when the tide goes out, do we discover who's been swimming naked. And that's what happened here. And it turns out the vast majority of the crypto market, when you were talking to these crypto cowboys, these imaginary coin hustlers, okay, they would tell you, you've heard this made up stat. They're like, okay, so bro, like, okay, so yeah. Like 99% of these cryptocurrencies are total bullshit scams. But it's like, I'm sorry, don't butt me. You're trying to sell me into this thing, and you just prefaced your statement with 99% of this market, of this sector, is scams. Yeah. So it's like, what is this thing? And it's not a currency. It has no utility. Okay, it is totally speculative. And most of them have no value, let alone what you paid for it. It's shameful.
Not to get too nerdy, but to drill down on your point, in times of economic uncertainty in the market, things like currencies or like what are called like futures, like gold, wheat, what have you, those prices remain stable because they're considered to be safe bets.
Yeah, recession proof.
Bitcoin will, like to Billy's point, if the market's tanking, Bitcoin is also tanking because in reality, it's a digital commodity.
Yeah,
it's not an alternative currency. If I had to bet money as to what is going to deliver the final death knell to Bitcoin, it would be Jerome Powell. Because he keeps announcing he's going to up interest rates in order to trigger a recession. I think if he's successful, given everything that's already happened within the crypto markets already, I would have to think that a crash, of that magnitude would basically, even if people wanted to put money into crypto, I don't think they could do it.
No, I was gonna say, there's just not a lot of like discretionary spending in the public right now. So I think there's like a lot of factors, right, that are going to lead to like the complete collapse of cryptocurrency. One, I think, is what you're saying, Gerald, just like the overall trends, that are like affected by the decisions of the feds, by the overall labor market, by the overall economy, by, like the logistical and supply chains of the global markets. But also, like, we can't discount that like the people that peddle this stuff are just complete fucking grifters who can't help themselves. They're greedy little pigs, like Sam Bankman-Fried, who was literally like dipping into his exchange for customer funds and using it to buy like real estate, under the name of his parents and family.
Yeah.
Like, they are greedy little pigs who can't help themselves. And it's not about a libertarian revolution or like a war on central banking or replacing fiat currency. Fuck that. These people are just MLM pyramid scheme peddlers, and they're just out there to make a buck, and they're so greedy that their scams fall upon their weight of their own greed.
But this shift, during the pandemic, this shift to the retail market, lay people sitting around buying crypto, thinking it was going to be this. It was just a casino. That's all it was. It was just a casino.
It's just video blackjack.
Yeah, that everybody lost. That's all it was. I mean, and anyone responsible for drawing that part of the market. What I mean by that is people who can't afford it. People who can't afford to take $75,000, their life savings, and go and walk into a casino and put it all on a, bet it all on a roulette spin, that's what happened here. And you had people from the biggest celebrities in the world, the biggest sports stars in the world, to the heads of government, who were shilling for this. And it was just, I think we'll look back on it. For some of us, we saw it contemporaneously. We called it as we saw it. We're like, why is this happening? What is happening? Yeah. This is insane. And we didn't see it. We're the haters. We're the naysayers. We just don't have the vision. That's
exactly it. Billy, I want to put that flashlight, kind of flip it around and point it at us, at Miami Inns, and kind of explore why we, like, when I read in 2018 or 2019 this like glossary of all of the different Bitcoin and Web3 acronyms, things like FUD and like, have fun staying poor, and don't let the haters dominate. It speaks to what you were talking about before. And
one of the first things any cult does is changes the language, is it creates its own. I'm like,
in language and out language.
Are you hodling? Yeah. Are you a hodler? I'm like, what does that mean? They're like, holding. I'm like, then why don't you just call it holding? Because you can't. What? Because you have to be in the know. You have to be on the end. They speak their own language. That's the first thing. Culture. It's the first thing any cult does. It's the reason why Starbucks calls a small a tall.
Yeah. And it's funny because like I'm less concerned about the parasites that want to eat our flesh versus all of us who are so eager to have our flesh eaten. We're like, no, man, this is great. The car dealer. I was going to ask at the end of this section of the interview, like, if you guys know folks who've been in this situation, because I do, and they're like middle class people, and they're not the kind of people that can be throwing this money away. And now they're telling us like, oh man, we had to cancel that trip to Disney because we ate shit on Dogecoin or whatever. Yeah. And I just like it seems like this is I don't think we're giving enough credit to Bitcoin for what the scam that it is, because it is a self-perpetuating scam. When Bernie Madoff was caught, he knew it was over. He knew, I better either off myself or head to prison and get ready. But This is a scam where there will be crops of people that either off themselves, or if you read the headlines these days, pretend to off themselves, and or go head off to prison, or piss off the wrong people. And
well,
and
he headed off to prison where Hillary got him.
Yeah.
Along with McAfee and Epstein.
Yeah. She's the list grows longer.
Speaking of the Clintons, going back to what you're talking about, political leaders, let's just not forget that Bill Clinton and fucking Tony Blair were on stage with Sam Bankman-Fried on a conference in the fucking Bahamas. Like, come the fuck on.
Come on. The only thing that surprised me about that is that Bill Clinton didn't take the Lolita Express to get there. Okay, come on. I mean, what are you talking about?
I got a place down there. Don't worry. I got a place on a little island called St. James.
But David, you make an interesting point. 'Cause I was saying it's a. I mean, it was the same thing as a cult. It's a fraternity. It's as the FOMO, as the kids call it. But you think about Animal House. Thank you, sir. May I have another? Right? You think about that mentality of just people who so desperately want to belong as a part of something. And particularly a get-rich-quick scheme, but a get-rich-quick scheme that is filled with people that want to pat your back, that want to tell you how great and how smart you are for being a part of this thing, who want to teach you their secret handshake and their secret language, and want you to be a part of something. So many people are out, especially the last 2 years, out there lonely, sitting on the other side of a device, not really connecting with anybody in the world. And this gave people an opportunity to feel like they were a part of something and also getting rich at the same time. I mean, it's pathetic, but I don't understand Greek life either on campuses. Like, that's not something that I ever was drawn to, but people are. And I think you can't, and politically in this moment, just these kind of broken brain, gullible, lost souls that are sort of just adrift in this world, trying to find something to tether themselves to, and trying to figure out why they are not rich, why they are not popular, why men don't adore, why men don't want to be them and women want to be with them. Why not? Why am I being? Well, it must be because I need to be a part of these magical coins. I must be because, gay people have too many rights, or black people have too many rights, or there's a Jewish cabal controlling everything. And then you have these people who are susceptible to these cult-like endeavors, which is exactly what crypto is.
I was going to say, I think there's definitely a strong element among the evangelists for that mindset, but I think among casual fans, I kind of get it. Like, I'll be honest, like, especially as like wealth is increasingly concentrated in fewer and fewer hands. If you have aspirations to have a house, if you have aspirations to have a car and a family, and you have two options, I can either go to work and hopefully save if I'm making enough to save at my job, or I could roll the dice on the magic beans. I understand why some people would say, you know what? I know which one is not going to lead to a house or a car and a family. And it's probably not working for whatever wages I can get in some, fucked over town. I'll roll the dice with the beans. I certainly get it.
I certainly understand
among the casuals.
I certainly understand I certainly understand the appeal of crypto far more than I understand the appeal of soccer. I'll admit that.
Sure.
At least you might make some money with crypto. But I want to make this very important point, which I'm sure Tomas has made ad nauseum in over the course of your podcast, which is that we were talking about Gerald was making the point earlier about where your money was safe in an economic downturn. Obviously not in cryptocurrencies, as we've learned. Even though they're totally immune to these market conditions, obviously. Let's look at. I'm sure there's a more recent one, but let's look at the most recent financial disclosure data that we have on Francis Suarez. Let's do it. In his
Billy,
crypto,
I'm going to stop you right there, because there's like this guy. Like it's easy to beat up on him because I'm sure he lost all his money investing in crypto, right? That's what you're about to tell us?
Dude, no. What I'm about to tell you is that he has no money invested in crypto. What I'm about to tell you is this guy hasn't put his fake money where his mouth is. What I'm telling you is that this guy is trying to convince schmucks like you and me to get into to buy these magic beans, and that Sam Bankman-Fried is the smartest guy and the greatest guy with the best company. Come to Miami, bro. And this guy, as of last year, a mayor who claims to take his paycheck in Bitcoin, which number one is total bullshit because the government is not allowed by law. The Miami cannot pay him in Bitcoin. So he clarifies it by, well, I buy Bitcoin, bro, with my paycheck. But also, that's only one of his at least three paychecks, and it's not even his biggest paycheck, even though it comes directly out of, it's, what is it, 3 times the median income of a Miamian. He had about just over $10,000 in his cryptocurrency wallet as of last year. Just over $10,000. But hang on.
But
in
is
his
he holding,
bank,
is he holding, bro?
Hodling? Is he hodling? Is he in his bank account? He had $850,000 US and declared $700,000 in real estate investments. So to Gerald's point, his money is where it should be. His money is where all it should be, in cash, and just in case the economy is going to turn down, so you have some, you're liquid, you have some reserves on hand to be able to afford to navigate those rough waters. And it's in real estate. Okay, it's not in crypto like that. Like it's what. Listen, at least SBF, if you believe him, his net worth went from $20 billion to $100,000. At least he took the ride. You know what I mean? Right. Yeah, he stole a bunch of money probably, or he allegedly embezzled a bunch of money, and he may have assets here, whatever. But they'll find those if that's the case. But the bottom line is the guy's broke now. Francis Suarez has a lot of money, and any schmuck who listened to him and bought any of this garbage is broke.
Even less money.
That's it, right. So your boy at Carvana, what's the line? Miami coin will make you a millionaire if you started as a billionaire.
I was just about to say that that Suarez is this has the same overtones as kind of like the vaccine debate on the right, where it was like you could tell the difference between the Tucker Carlson, the high level pundit guys who got the memo, like, hey, by the way, like, actually do take the vaccine, but versus the ones who didn't get the memo and like died in like local market. There's a whole rash of like local market AM radio guys who died in like from the year 2020, like from January 2021 through like the end of last year.
And Fox News had a vaccine mandate, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
So while they were on TV bitching about vaccine mandates, they had one in the building and were all protected from it. And you're right, these other schmucks who at these yokel, regional
AM radio,
terrestrial radio right-wing radio stations were dropping like flies left and right. I mean, it was just. But listen, let me tell you, Melinda Gates knows exactly where I am on this flat Earth every second of every day. I got the chip. I got the mic. Meanwhile, is Elon
I was going to say that's like a personal. That's like your own personal
Musk,
thing that you got going on with her, though. That's
is
like,
Elon Musk peddling a microchip to be put into your brain now? Like literally a microchip to be put in your brain.
And all it took was the death of something like 5,000 monkeys. He killed 5,000 monkeys to make that happen. So they
blew up. They spontaneously combusted like a Tesla, allegedly.
All right, so we're heading into our last segment of the episode, and Billy, you've been very kind with your time, and we appreciate it. But we're going to quiz you.
You got me fired up.
So the name of this quiz, T. What is it? What did we finally decide on? Was it
Miami Grifters quiz? I don't know.
No, it was the Miami. Oh no, it was the Miami Guess the Grifter.
Guess the Grifter, guys. Guess the Grifter.
Okay, so the way that this, it might be easier to just do an example for you to understand how we're going to play this game. Billy, you are the contestant, and we are going to ask you things like this, or we're going to posit scenarios like this, and you are going to answer. This one's easy. With a father who served as mayor prior to him, this Miami Grifter, it has shuttled who knows how much public money into the realm of cryptocurrency, all under the auspices of trying to pretend that Miami is a tech hub, even though crypto actually
and he was Dan Gelber.
Technically, almost. So you get the tone. T, what were you going to say?
No, I was going to say he's also he was seen front court at a Heat game with a $20,000 ticket that we don't know where it came from. Guess the Grifter?
They never got to the bottom of that. Like,
No, we
No,
did.
that-
We did get to the bottom of that.
Oh, okay.
It was like a crypto like company that gave it to him.
Yeah, but he didn't want it. But he didn't want to say. He had
Yeah.
no choice. Eventually, he had to disclose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to start us off with our first one. And anybody who's been who had followed me on Twitter back in, it's like, I think September or something, back when the Hurricanes still had a chance of being a decent football team in 2022. You might have noticed a little back and forth with myself in this particular billionaire Ponzi, or not Ponzi scheme, grifter. This billionaire grifter made his money pretty much all on paper. There's not really much evidence that he's actually wealthy or anything.
Allegedly.
Allegedly through what they call, I'm not going to get into this shit because I fucking hate it, and I went to business school for 4 years and I don't want to fucking talk about it, but a SPAC IPO. He SPAC IPO'd his company that basically is a middleman between medical collections and debtors. Perfect Miami success story. Now this harebrained billionaire, who is my neighbor, who's lives 2 minutes from me, has a proposal out there to take over one of the last few decent green spaces that we have here in central Miami-Dade County and turn it into a football stadium. Yeah, great. So the Dolphins need a new football? No, not the Dolphins. A private university that hasn't really been football relevant since before Billy was producing his very first documentary. So Billy, name or guess the Miami grifter.
John Ruiz.
That is right. Ding, ding, ding. We're going to add in some.
Ding, ding, ding.
May I also add that the university he wants to build the stadium for does not want the stadium.
They literally don't want the stadium.
On the record,
the municipalities involved don't want it. Nobody wants
it.
Nobody wants it. Full stop.
He said he wants to turn this park into Disney Wide World of Sports. And I was just thinking, when's the last time I paid $30 for a hot dog at Tropical Park? It hasn't been anytime recently. All right, the next one, Jer, that's you.
Okay, hang on.
God damn it, Jerry.
I actually don't know this guy very well.
Maybe you should do this. He unfriended you. Aw.
Yeah.
All right.
When okay.
I'll do it. Okay, so this guy is a.
We're making friends left and right on this episode. They're gonna have us be. We're gonna be city ambassadors by the time this episode's over.
First clue is he unfriended Gerald on Facebook. And be like, that could be any one of thousands of people.
I know.
Okay, this guy occupies I would say an important and prominent role in the Billy Corben Miami lore. He is a. I'm just gonna give it away. He's a quote unquote top Democratic consultant, best known for double dealing when representing Qatar. And I'll just leave it at that.
Christian Olvert.
You got it, baby.
Grifter. I mean, but that is like that. Some of these folks, like I said, allegedly, shit has to shake
Legal
out on some
we
of these
cannot
folks.
legally say it. Yeah.
But Christian Olvert, I have no problem saying is an absolute, utter political grifter. I mean, absolutely. The Democratic Party has been a non-entity in the state of Florida for over 20 years, and thanks in no small part to people like him who don't see elections as campaigns, but as robberies, just as banks, as that he can just steal money from. And I will say that. I have no problem saying that because steal is not a legal term. It's what he's taking money and not doing the work. That is theft, in my opinion.
Just don't tell my bosses.
Nor mine.
Did he unfriend you yet, David?
Not yet.
Now.
No. I don't know I don't even know if I'm friends with him on any platform, but
I can't say it's what it was, but I just noticed during the coup in Bolivia when I was like, this seems bad that my friends count cratered, and I just assume if someone unfriended me in Miami, it was around that time.
That's probably it. Yeah, that was. T, you got the next one.
Okay, all right. Okay, this one, I think you'll get this one. So this guy is a former, I believe, clerk, but worked in the office of Catherine Fernandez Rondo. He was a former minority House leader for the Democrats, but widely rumored to be a Republican plant because of how awful he was at the job, and is now in the
Never
county
good.
commission where he is,
Keone McGee. Keone McGee.
Hey,
Let's go.
3 for 3. We got 3
Sure.
for
3,
3,
baby.
Nice.
Let's go.
Yeah.
I feel like this next one for Billy is like the free spot on the bingo card, where it's like all I have to say is, you know what? I'm not going to go through the whole long-winded thing. I'm just going to say, I'll just say what I learned.
Should we do this? Should we do this like name that tune format? Like as soon as I know it, I just chime in.
You chime in. Yes, exactly.
I've been waiting for you to finish because it's hilarious. Like some of the shit's just hilarious. Like just.
But you know it right away.
I know it right away. Yeah.
Teapot.
Joe Carollo.
Ah, there we go.
We should do a lightning round. A lightning round. We just...
Okay. Here's another another lightning round. He took one vote this year that ended his political career.
Ken Russell.
Oh man.
I should say disgraced ex-commissioner of the city of Miami, Ken Russell. I like when they resign, even though it's like a law to resign to run, I can now reference him as disgraced, like former commission, like resigned from that poor bastard.
Who was robbed of his last meeting when he was finally going to get affordable housing through. He was so close.
Oh man, if only.
He was so close.
It's right there. He waited till the last meeting. He waited till the last meeting to do everything he failed to do for 7 years.
And that's why you don't procrastinate, kids.
Because Joe Carollo and DLP and Christine King of the Hardiman crime family, they're going to snatch that very last meeting away from you.
I know. Well, that was Guess the Grifter. There's so many characters. Yeah, there's so many of them.
We'll have you back on. We're going to build that out. We literally built that out in the 15 minutes before you joined on the call right now. So we're gonna build that game out a little bit more and have you back on to
that's a
to
great
maybe
game.
do an
And I
expanded
love
round.
like the single words, maybe just single and see how many words it takes, like how many single word clues it takes me to get.
I got
how many proper nouns.
One last one. Guess the Grifter, Marlins Stadium. Go. Who was it?
There's so
many.
Manny
Diaz. There's so well. Hang on. Well, no, wait. Hang on. There's Manny Diaz. There's Carlos Alvarez. There's Mark Sarnoff. There's Bruno Barrero. There's David Sampson. There's Jeff Loria. There's so many Marlins Park grifters there, but I named the key ones. I think one of my favorite moments during the final vote for the Marlins Park in Miami-Dade County Commission, Katie Sorensen, then commissioner at the time, when Bruno Barrero was the chairman, and he was blocking all the commissioners who were against the plan from just introducing amendments that would make it a slightly better deal for the taxpayers and their constituents. He was just blocking them, just like any little thing where it's like, can we make it slightly better for our taxpayers who are gonna be left carrying the bag on this? And Bruno Barrero kept blocking it, and then Katie Sorensen said, Chairman, I'd like to offer a friendly amendment to name the venue Bruno Barrero Stadium. Because he was shilling so hardcore, and Katie Sorensen is responsible for one of my favorite all-time Miami headlines, which I keep meaning to do for like a Flashback Friday, or a Throwback Thursday, because Katie Sorensen started this Good Government initiative, which was like workshops at the University of Miami, where people who are interested in running for office, who are already in government, who wanted to learn about the ethics and the laws of being good government. The headline is, Katie Sorensen closes Good Government initiative due to lack of interest.
Yes. I remember.
That is the greatest Miami
All-timer.
Headline of all. It had plenty of money. There was no funding issue. It was just nobody was signing up to participate in it. So Miami Good Government Initiative shuts down due to lack of interest.
It's a sunny place for shady people, Billy. Sunny place for shady people.
You already know, bro.
You already know.
So, Billy, thank you so much for being so generous with your time. Again, where can people find you and find God Forbid?
They can find me for as long as it lasts on Twitter at Billy Corben, Corben, looking for a new home. If anybody has any suggestions, maybe Stacks should build a social media platform where we can go and hodl and with our Miami coin.
But just wait. Any day now, with all of the tech companies that are flocking here, somebody's going to build something. We'll be fine.
And I'm also on the cesspool that is Instagram, also at Billy Corben, Corben. And I'm buying the dip, bro. I'm investing all of my Miami coin in the Boring Company's underwater highways that will be breaking ground on in no time here in South Florida.
Public transportation, here we come. The dream is a
driving my Tesla through a limestone tunnel, baby.
Yeah,
just a tube of fire, Gerald.
The Tesla until it explodes and just like breaks the tunnel and floods it and kills like 400 people.
Yeah, until it goes all Michael. Yeah, it's going to be Michael Bay.
Japan erupting.
Yeah,
it's
good.
That's all for this episode of Why Are We Like This? Be sure to follow us on Apple Podcasts for more episodes, or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Visit us at wawlt.com. Follow us on Twitter at Walt Show, and on TikTok at Walt Show. You can also email us at walt@allpointswest.net. Until next time, this was Why Are We Like This? Walt Mafia Rising.